You ever see these white grubs whenever you are gardening or digging in your landscape? Let's talk about them. So what we call grubs are predominantly beetle larvae. These ones here that are mostly white in color, these are going to be from what we call June bugs. So the beetles that are brown that emerge in late spring. These are their young. They have not turned into beetles yet, obviously. They are still the larvae form. And oftentimes we find them either in our lawns or in our garden when we're digging, because that larval form lives underground or underneath piles of mulch in this case. Now, primarily they feed on organic material, decaying wood and things like that, but if you find them in high density, they potentially could also eat the roots of your plants. And that's why a lot of gardeners don't like seeing them in the gardens. My wind chime is super loud, by the way. I'm sorry about that. It's a little windy today. That's why you see so many products available on the market for killing grubs, because people are pretty paranoid about these things killing their plants potentially or harming their lawn. There's the wind chime behind me being really loud. But my point in this video is there's a lot of fear when it comes to these beetles larvae. A lot of people really don't want to see them in their garden. They think it's a bad thing if they dig them up in their garden, but it may not necessarily be that bad. I mentioned that it's really more about the density of them that's going to basically tell us if they're going to damage your plants or not. So if you're digging around in your garden and you're finding one or two here or there, there's absolutely nothing to be alarmed about. You can either leave them there, you can throw them away, you can feed them to your chickens. I feed them to my fish. Where they might start becoming a problem is when they get into a density of 7 to 10 per square foot, because then they're going to be not only eating all the organic material in the ground, but they might run out of food and start moving on to your plant's roots, and they could damage your plants then. In that case, it might be a good idea to use one of those insecticide granules or liquids that will target the grubs, or there are more natural options such as nematodes available too that you can use that wouldn't be a chemical use. Anyway, let's see if the fish will eat these. Oh, they love them. Now, one thing I do need to mention is we were talking about June bugs in this video, but there's another very similar grub, and that is for the Japanese beetle. The Japanese beetle looks like this. Their grubs look like this. Now, Japanese beetle is considered much more of a pest in the garden because the adults, once they emerge, will actually feed on your plants and do pretty substantial damage to your plants. So if you are in an area with Japanese beetles, then those are probably more apt for you to go and treat those as opposed to the June bug larvae, which really aren't that much of a menace in the garden, unless you don't like June bugs.